My name is Dylan. I'm in rabbinical school. I'm a male to female transsexual. I am Asperger's, dyslexic, and blind. I use a wheelchair. I have non-epileptic seizures and epilepsy. I'm a musician and filmmaker, and I have a BA in history.
My name is Margot. I have cerebral palsy. I study biology at Penn State Harrisburg, and I'm an independent filmmaker.
In this video, we're going to analyze the mitzvah of the Passover Seder. I am going to guide you through how a Seder is conducted, from the beginning to the end as a means of glorifying and commemorating the book of Exodus, when the Jewish people were led by Moses to freedom out of Egypt. It's a means of liberation from bondage and take our place as the light upon the nations. As the Torah says, I'm going to be taking you through the entire Haggadah, which is different based on whether you're Sephardic or Ashkenazi. Since I am Ashkenazi, I will analyze that version. So we will discuss culture and what makes slight differences happen in the Haggadahs, including for different denominations. The Seder can be divided into three parts. Part one is before the meal. The second part is the meal, and the third part is after the meal. Usually, on average, the Seder is 2 hours with some variation, depending on the family and the time spent eating. So we're gonna start with the cup for Kiddush.
The first cup of wine is poured. Lift the cup with the right hand and say the following.
So there are two versions of the Kiddush, depending on whether it's on Shabbat or whether it's on a weekday. I'm gonna show both during the Shabbat. Yeah, people care. She as my never let hold strong. Must be the Russian song. You, you must be the Russian song. You must be the chateau. Yo, chateau. So the other eye, you're the night, and you come. Gratefully, I got them. You're the night, and you come. Yeah, you're alone. You focus you a time and you get just Adonai, in your melech haram, Etianu, Yamanu, Yanu, Okay, so that was the Shabbat version of the Kiddush. If the Seder is on Shabbat, and I tacked on Shekianu at the end for the prayer for new beginnings that is said the first time you do said mitzvah um, over the course of the year. So being that it was Kiddush means sanctification, I sanctified the first night of Passover. Okay, this is the weekday version. Arkatamnai, Oinumalakolam, Ren, Parihagafem, Arkatamnai, Oinumalakolam, Ekabanyam, Both time. You Anuvekatam, Anukiastam, Kanim, Aniyam, Akamnai, Ani, Katanai, Inumalakalam, Ekianu, Iyamanu, Iyanu, Lasmanasai. Right. So in the event the Seder starts just after Shabbat, we added Havdalah to separate Shabbat from the rest of the week. Havdalah literally means separation. So when we talk about Havdalah, there are three elements. We have the spices, what we call the summons. Um, we have the candle, and then we have wine. All right. So first, we do the summons, then we do the candle. No. First, we do the wine, then we do the candle, and then we do this, and then we end by extinguishing the candle in the wine.
Cool.
Okay, now I'm going to show it. So when we do Havdalah, Havdalah starts with a song. So we will be talking later about Elijah the prophet, but we start by singing a song about Elijah. It's called Eliyahu. Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Atishvi, Eliyahu, 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 Agiladu, Eliyahu. Yaakov, you, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishvi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agilani. Now we do Havdalah. Name in your mind, in your mind, hold on. First time, you know the song. Tanai, anyone in your arms, Takianu, Nikiamanu, Ian, Osman, and then extinguish the um candle in the wine, and yeah, that's Havdalah. There's another melody you can use as well. I'll show that. Um, this melody for Havdalah is used by Debbie Friedman. She was the one who wrote it. She was very influential in the reform movement. She was also gay, and yeah, this is her melody. I really like her music, even though I happen to be Orthodox. So this is another melody used. It's a little more modern. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam barei hagam yafen barei peri hagafen marai marai no, alright, her name is Ari. No, her name is Ari. Barukata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam barei ha'esh merei ha'esh The next step is hand washing. Do not say the blessing, even though we usually do say a blessing. Ashkenazi Jews have a custom of can do it at the toilet, in the bathroom. Sephardic Jews don't do it in the bathroom, so I'll be doing it in the kitchen, even though I'm Ashkenazi. So the way it works is you go from side to side, left, right, right, and then there's a blessing. That's how you do it. When we do it without the blessing early in the Seder, that's how we do it. And then with the blessing goes, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedoshanu v'mitzvotav anatu l'dayim. And that's the blessing we say and how we wash right before we're eating, right after eating bread, and also when we wake up. However, this is an opportunity to give a role in the Seder to somebody who is not speaking. At Hebrew school, we did model Seders, and I had this role before I would speak due to my selective mutism at the time. Okay, the karpas and the Roman lettuce are eaten to remind us of our forefathers who are suffering. So the karpas, now I'll do the blessing over the karpas. Rakatanai Elohim Melech Olam We dip the karpas in salt water to remind us of the tears of our forefathers. They were slaves. On Passover, there are three matzot. We eat matzah because the bread didn't have time to rise when we left Egypt. There are three matzot that go into these three slots. One, two, three. Um, there are three of them. And they go into those slots. The first matzah is the middle matzah. The middle matzah goes in. And there are also matzah that people snack on during the Seder. Once the middle matzah is broken and put into the afikomen bag, some families handle it differently. Sometimes the kids hide it, or the adults, depending on the custom or minhag. The smaller piece is put in the middle of the matzah cup. On the Seder plate, there is a roasted hard-boiled egg. Another way to think of the egg on the Seder plate is as the baby in the womb. We talked about it in the context of the cycle of life, but that's what the egg is supposed to symbolize. So for us as pro-lifers, we're remembering that life starts at conception. And I grew up roasting the egg and the shank bone together, with the shank bone also being on the Seder plate. There are bitter herbs we discussed earlier. A veggie, usually parsley or cooked potato for new beginnings, is on the plate. Then there is haroset. Some people have a custom or a minhag to add a potato skin to remember those who perished in the Holocaust. The egg symbolizes the cycle of life and the sacrifice in the temple. We use the shank bone to commemorate the sacrifice of a lamb for Passover. Bitter herbs represent the bitterness of slavery. Karpas is a single symbol of spring and new beginning. The haroset symbolizes the bricks and mortar we built in Egypt. I will introduce the matzah.
This is the bread of oppression our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. Let all who are hungry come in and eat. Let all who are in need come and join us for Pesach. Now we are here, next year in the land of Israel. Now slaves, next year we shall be free.
Now we pour the second cup of wine and we do the four questions in Hebrew and English. In Hebrew, it is called Manish Chana. The four questions are typically asked by the youngest child. The four questions are typically asked by the youngest child, and the leader of the Seder, typically the father, answers the question. During the Manish Chana, we uncover the matzah and the Seder plate. Manish Chana, Delilah has said, we come hallelujah. 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 My new are clean. Hallelujah to matzah. Hallelujah to matzah. Delilah Hazah. Delilah Hazah. You matzah. Delilah Hazah. Delilah Hazah. You matzah. You call hallelujah. My new are clean. The God is I know. Yeah, you are. Delilah has said, Delilah has said, the call my Lord. Delilah has said, I want yeah, call hallelujah. Now you are the king. Now you have never the name of Neckar. I like the Hesa. I like the Hesa. Neckar, my life. I like the Hesa. I like the Hesa. Call hallelujah. I knew I clean. Yeah, I live. Yeah, Lila Hassan, Lila Hassan, no, Lila Hassan, Lila Hassan,
What makes this night unlike all other nights, so that every other night we eat either bread or matzah, but tonight there is only matzah. And every other night we eat many different grains, but tonight we will eat bitter herbs. And every other night we do not dip our food at all, but tonight we dip it twice. And every other night some sit to eat and some recline, but tonight we are all reclining.
When we say um, that you can recline, um, that some recline, a way to think of this in a disability context is feel free to front the reclining function it, on your power chair. It's a mitzvah to recline your power chair on this night. Now we read the five rabbis.
Once Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer ben Yazara and Rabbi Avikia and Rabbi Tarfun reclined for the Seder in Beni Brak, and they told of the exodus from Egypt all that night until their students came in and said, "Teachers, the time for saying the Shema of the morning has come." Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah said, "I am almost 70 years old, and never have I merited to find the command to speak of the exodus from Egypt at night until Ben Zama interrupted. It is written, so that you remember the day of your exodus from Egypt, all the days of your life. The days of your life would mean in days. All of your life includes the nights. But the sages say days of your life would only mean in this world. All of the days of your life brings in the time of the Messiah." Okay. And then you say,
Now we will do the four sons. There is the wise son, the wicked son, the simple son that does not know how to ask. I like to think of these four sons as a metaphor for neurodiversity, which is born out of a term coined by Judy Singer as a term for different types of minds.
Neurodiversity literally just means that every human mind is different because no two minds are exactly alike.
For more information on this, watch my interview with Judy Singer on this channel. Temple Grandin thought of different types of thinking and learning styles, which can be applied to autism as well as other disabilities like mental illness. What the story teaches in the context of neurodiversity, how to teach Passover to different types of brains.
"Blessed is the omnipresent, blessed is he, blessed is the one who gave his people Israel the Torah, blessed is he." The Torah relates to four types of sons: one who is wise, one who is wicked, one with a simple nature, and one who does not know how to ask. The wise son, what does he say? What are the testimonies, the statutes and laws that the Lord our God commanded you? And you must tell him the laws of Pesach. After eating the Pesach offering, one does not eat anything more. The wicked son, what does he say? What is this service to you? To you, he says, not to him. When he sets himself apart from the community, he denies the very core of our beliefs, and you must set his teeth on edge and tell him, because of this, the Lord acted for me when I came out of Egypt, for me and not for him. Had he not been there, he would not have been redeemed. The simple-natured son, what does he say? What is this? And you must tell him, with a strong hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt from the grip of slavery. And the one who does not know how to ask, you must be open to the story for him, as it is said, and you tell your child on the day, because this the Lord acted for me when I came out of Egypt.
At this point in the Seder, we now discuss the historical context of leaving Egypt as a Jewish people, how we came to Egypt. Ultimately, we leave from the pits of slavery, wandered the desert for 40 years before reaching the promised land of Israel. Now, Margot will read some historical points of the history and culture of what happened before the Israelites left Egypt.
And you shall tell your child, one might have thought this meant from the beginning of the month. And so it says, on that day, had it said only on that day, one might have thought the obligation applied during the day. And so it also says, because of this can only be said when matzah and bitter herbs are there before you. In the beginning, our fathers were idol worshippers. In the beginning, our ancestors were idol worshippers. But now the Omnipresent has drawn close to his service. As it is said, Joshua said to all the people, this is what the Lord God of Israel has said. Beyond the river, your ancestors always dwelled. Terah, the father of Abraham, the father of Nahor, and they served other gods. But I took your father Abraham from beyond the river, and I led him all the way across the land of Canaan, and I multiplied his offspring and gave him Isaac. And to Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. And I gave Esau Mount Seir as an inheritance, while Jacob and his children went down to Egypt. Blessed is the one who kept his promise to Israel. Blessed is he, for the Holy One calculated the end and fulfilled what he had spoken to our father Abraham in the covenant between the pieces. As it is said, he said to Abraham, no, your descendants will be strangers in a land not their own, and they will be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. But know that I shall judge the nation that enslaves them, and then they will leave with great wealth. The matzot are covered and the wine cup is raised.
The interesting thing to note about idol worship at the time, before Abraham, the world was polytheistic. From the Fertile Crescent, where Christianity, Judaism, and Islam started, from paganism to ancient Greece. This means that those who came before us engaged in idol worship, and Abraham was told not to engage in idol worship when God revealed himself. Just for context, it is worthy of note that God did not ban idol worship until the Ten Commandments. And God also told us to recite the Shema, which is our daily decree that there is only one God. In cases when people engaged in idol worship, it was not looked highly on, as we see in Sodom and Gomorrah, where people did idol worship and murder and sexual proclivities. Another good example is when the prophet Jonah was tasked to go to Nineveh to urge the people of Nineveh to stop committing sins of murder and idol worship. Luckily, Jonah saved Nineveh, which changed their ways. And if you want to learn more about Jonah, I implore you to watch the book of Jonah reading on this channel. When we talk about the covenant with the generations of Abraham,
it comes from the practice of circumcision.
It comes from the practice of circumcision, where we circumcise all males on the 8th day after birth, unless it is the Sabbath or the festival, or a festival, where we delay it until a weekday, even if it is a festival like Sukkot or Passover. When the Haggadah talks about how Jacob and his sons were in Egypt, they mean the legacy of Joseph, who is the catalyst to how we ended up in Egypt, being slaves in the first place. What happened was Joseph was given a coat of many colors by his mother Rachel as a gift. His brothers retaliated out of jealousy. by throwing him in a pit and selling him into slavery in Egypt. When Joseph was a slave in Egypt, his master noticed that he could interpret dreams, which was useful to Pharaoh. They saved Egypt from famine, but other people had famine too. So Joseph's brothers came to Egypt too, and Joseph forgave them for selling him. Joseph in turn convinced his brothers to settle in Egypt, from the land of Canaan with their father Jacob. However, this did not last forever, and the Israelites were not treated well after Joseph, and the old Pharaoh died. So the new Pharaoh rose to power and enslaved the Jewish minority. The Haggadah concludes this part by saying, even though we were enslaved 400 years, we would become a nation as part of the story of Jacob. Jacob wrestles with God,
And God is so impressed that he named Jacob Israel.
and God is so impressed that he named Jacob Israel, meaning he who struggles with God, and said that there would be a nation in his name.
Go and learn what Laban the Aramean sought to do to our father Jacob. Pharaoh condemned only the boys to death, but Laban sought to uproot everything, as it is written. And Aramean sought my father's death, and he went down to Egypt and resided there, just a handful of souls, and there he became a nation, large, mighty, and great. And he went down to Egypt, compelled by what had been spoken, and resided there. From this, learn that our father Jacob went down not to be absorbed into Egypt, but only to reside there for a time. As it is said, they said to Pharaoh, we have come to reside in this land, for there is no pasture for your servants' flocks, for the famine is heavy in the land of Canaan. And now, if you please, let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen. Just a handful of souls, as it is said, your ancestors were but 70 souls, and they went down to Egypt, and now the Lord has made you as many as the sky has stars. And there he became a nation. From this, learn that Israel was distinct there, large, mighty, as it is said, from the children of Israel were fertile, and they swarmed, and they grew more and more numerous and strong, and the land was filled with them. And great, as it is said, I will let you grow wild like meadow plants. And you grew and matured, and came forth in all your glory, your breasts full, and your hair grown, and you were naked and exposed. Some add, and I was passed by you, and I saw you wallowing in your own blood, and I said to you, in your blood live. And I said, in your blood live. And the Egyptians dealt cruelly with us, and oppressed us, and imposed hard labor on us. The Egyptians dealt cruelly with us. As it is said, we must act bleh, we must act wisely against the people, in case it grows great, and when we are called to war, they may join our enemies and fight against us, and rise up and leave the land, and oppressed us, as it is said. They placed taskmasters over the people to oppress them under their burdens. They built store cities for Pharaoh, Pentium and Ramesses, and imposed hard labor on us. As it is said, the Egyptians enslaved the children of Israel with heavy labor. And we cried out to the Lord God our ancestors, and the Lord heard our voice, and he saw our oppression and our labor and slavery. And we cried out to the Lord God of our ancestors. As it is said, it came to be, as long time passed, that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel groaned under the burden of work, and they cried out, and the plea rose to God amid the work. And the Lord heard our voice, as it is said, the God heard their groans, And God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he saw our oppression, the separation of husband from wife, as it is said, and God saw the children of Israel, and God knew. And our labor, the killing of the sons, as it is said, throw every boy who is born into the throw every boy who is born into the river, and let the girls live. And slavery, the forced labor was pressed down on them, as it is said, I have seen the slavery that Egypt forced upon you. And the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a strong hand and an outstretched arm, in an awesome happening, with signs and with wonders. And the Lord brought us out of Egypt, not through an angel, not through a sparrow, not through an emissary, no, it was the Holy One, his glory, his own presence. As it is said, I shall pass through the land of Egypt on the night. I shall kill every firstborn in the land of Egypt, man and beast, and I shall pass judgment on all the gods of Egypt. I am Lord. I shall pass through the land of Egypt on that night, I and no angel. I shall kill every firstborn son in the land of Egypt, I and no sparrow. And I shall pass judgment on all the gods of Egypt, I and no emissary. I am the Lord, it is I and no other. With a strong hand, this refers to pestilence, as it is said, you shall see the hand of the Lord among your cattle in the field, among your horses and donkeys and camels, in the herds and in the flock, bringing harsh, heavy pestilence. And with an outstretched arm, this refers to the sword, as it is said, and his sword was drawn in his hand, stretched out over Jerusalem. In an awesome happening, this refers to the revelation of his presence, as it is said, has any God ever tried to come and take a nation out of the midst of another, with trials and with signs and with wonders and war, and with a strong hand and outstretched arm, inspiring great awe? The Lord your God has done all this for you in Egypt before your eyes. With signs, this refers to the staff, as it is said, take this staff in your hand, and with it you shall perform the signs. And with wonders, this refers to the blood, as it is said, I shall make wonders in the sky and on the earth. The 10 plagues, a drop of wine is spilled from the cup, as each wonder is mentioned. Blood and fire, and pillars of smoke. Another interpretation with a strong hand too, with an outstretched arm too, in an awesome blessing too, with signs too, and with wonders too. These were the 10 plagues that the Holy One brought upon Egypt, and these are they. A drop of wine is spilled from the cup, as each plague, and each of the acronyms Dezel, Adesh, and Bivam is mentioned. Blood, frogs, lice, wild animals, pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, the striking down of the firstborn. Rabbi Yehuda grouped these under acronyms Disjat, Adesh, Biav. Rabbi Yosai Gahali says, how can you know that the Egyptians were struck with 10 plagues in Egypt and another 50 at the sea? For in Egypt it is said, the astrologers said to Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. While at sea it said, when Israel saw the great hand the Lord raised against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and his servant Moses. If a finger struck them with 10 plagues, conclude from that they were struck with 10 plagues in Egypt and with 50 plagues at the sea. Rabbi Eliezer said, how can you know that each and every plague the Holy One brought upon the Egyptians in Egypt was in fact made up of 4 plagues? For it is said, his fury was sent down upon them. Great anger, rage, and distress, a company of messengers of destruction, great anger 1, rage 2, distress 3, a company of messengers of destruction 4. Conclude from this that they were struck with 40 plagues in Egypt, and with 200 plagues at the sea. Rabbi Akiva says, how can you know that each and every plague and the Holy One brought upon the Egyptians in Egypt was in fact made of 5 plagues? For it is said, his fury was sent down upon them, a great anger, rage, and distress, a company of messengers of destruction. His fury 1, great anger 2, rage 3, distress 4, a company of messengers of destruction 5. Conclude from that they were struck with 50 plagues in Egypt, and with 250 plagues at the sea. Dayenu.
The song Dayenu is one of the most well-known songs of the Passover Seder. The idea is that we are grateful to God, and saying He did not have to help us. He did the plagues and split the sea, and gave us food, which we are grateful for, because God went above and beyond to help us out of Egypt. You you mi Mitzrayim. You. Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. You are singing my time, you're my time, you're Dayenu. Dying you. Yeah, dying you. Dying you. Dying you. Dying you. Dying you. Dying you. You dying you. Dying you. Dying you. Dying you. Dying you. You are down the time. I am dying new. You, dying 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 you. You never dying you. Dying you. I knew, dying you, 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 dying you.
Rabban Gamaliel would say, anyone who does not say these things on Pesach has not fulfilled his obligation, and these things are they: Pesach, matzah, and bitter herbs. The Pesach is what our ancestors would eat while the temple stood. And what does it recall? It recalls the Holy One passing over Passover, the houses of our ancestors in Egypt. As it is said, you shall say, it is the Pesach offering for the Lord. For he passed over the houses and the children of Egypt while he struck the Egyptians, but saved those in our homes. The matzot is now lifted. The matzah that we eat. What does this recall? It recalls the dough of our ancestors, which did not have time to rise, before the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be he, revealed himself and redeemed them. As it is said, they baked the dough, and they had brought out of Egypt 2 unleavened cakes, for it had not risen. For they were cast out of Egypt and could not delay. They made no provision for the way. The bitter herbs are now lifted. These bitter herbs that we eat. These bitter herbs that we eat, what do they recall? They recall the bitterness the Egyptians imposed on the lives of our ancestors in Egypt, as it is said. They embittered their lives with hard labor, with clay and with bricks, and with all field labors, with all the work with which they enslave them, hard labor. Each person must see himself as if he himself had come out of Egypt, as it is said, and you shall tell your child on that day, because of this Lord acted for me when I came out of Egypt, and it was only our ancestors whom the Holy One redeemed. He redeemed us too along with them, as it is said, he took out of us there to bring us the land he promised our ancestors and gave it to us. Then it says, first half of Hillel, the matzot are covered and the cup is raised.
Now we were going to do the first half of Hallel. On festivals and Rosh Chodesh, we do the Psalms of Praise. There are two types of Hallel, half and full. We say full Hallel on Yontif days, and half Hallel on intermediate days, otherwise known as Kol Moeds. It's also worthy of note that there is a rabbinic interpretation called the Midrash that we remember the Egyptians that died in the parting of the Red Sea after God split the sea. It engulfed and drowned Egyptians who chased after us. During the Seder, we do half Hallel before the meal and the other half after. On you, Adonai, on you, you have the abode, that come, on you, Adonai, Elohim Yisrael, Yahweh Israel, Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh Elohim, Yosef Elohim. Shemayim Adonai. Hallelujah. Naknu Nebarakah, Yatam Yadolam, Yatam Yadolam, Hallelujah.